Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Now, before I get onto the subject of tonight's live stream, very, very important message for everybody listening. Buckle up! Since our live stream on ABSA, we have faced several, and I mean a lot, of denial of service attacks. There's spam attacks on Loving Life TV. So, as a safeguard to stop our Loving Life TV platform being taken down by these attacks, our webmaster Adrian has put in a one-off check for all registered users. So when you register on Loving Life TV, you will see a little box comes up, and it'll ask you to click on a link at the top of that box to send yourself an email. And once you've done that, just click out of Loving Life TV, go to your email and open up that email, click on the link. It'll take you back to lovinglifetv.com. It'll then verify you and you'll be fine. You're back. But we've put this process in place to basically thwart the attempts by, we don't know who it is, but the timing is interesting. To thwart the attempts by whoever it is to try and bring down the platform using spam. So I apologize for the inconvenience, but we've had to do it. If you do have any issues with the actually getting back into your account, please just send Adrian an email. He's the technical contact in the contacts available from the Loving Life TV links. All right, now talking about Loving Life TV, you might have noticed that in the last 10 days, 2 weeks, we've had a new participant in our videos, and of course his name is Colyn Serfontein. And Colyn has a very interesting perspective on life in South Africa. And tonight I'm going to be speaking to Colyn. And of course his nickname on not just Loving Life TV but on YouTube is Skid Marks. Now when I think of skid marks, I think of, as I said before, something that happens well, when I was at boarding school, and I think you know where this is going, so I'm not going to go any further. But just to be clear, I've had a chat to Colyn. He said when he talks about skid marks, he's actually thinking about those skid marks on the road. And everyone has a story behind it. Very interesting perspective. All right, without any further ado, let me get Colyn on. And tonight we're going to be talking about electricity. And we're going to be talking about ways of actually saving money and overcoming those horrible little load sheddings. So let's get Colyn on. Here we go. Hi, Colyn.
Yes, Scott.
How are you, buddy?
I'm great, and you?
Excellent, excellent. Just for the record, your last video that you put up on Loving Life TV has got over 5,000 views. That was put up 20 hours ago.
Which one is that?
That's the one where you have a full go. You use the
That's stir the pot video.
The stir the pot. That's it. Yeah. Stir the pot video. But it's got 5,252 views, and it went up 20 hours ago. So it's gone a little bit viral. Now,
I really got emotional.
Yeah.
The further I went into the topic.
I saw quite a few people saying, "Don't have a heart attack."
Yeah, I got messages like that too.
Now, Colyn, you're a really interesting character. We've had a few chats on Skype, and I'm getting to know you better, and I love the way you think. Now, before we get into our subject tonight, which is how to combat load shedding without spending an absolute fortune on it, what I'd like to talk to you about, seeing that you are part of the Loving Life family by default, is a little bit of your background, where you grew up, a little bit about your life, so people know a bit about you.
Well, look, Scott, I was born in Germiston. My parents at that stage were working as bank clerks, and I can't remember anything about those years. The first memories of life that I really have I would say was around about the age of 3, maybe 3. Was when my dad was working for a farmer near Bothaville on a farm, and he was a foreman on the farm, and it is a cattle farm. And that is where my memories basically begin. And then my dad decided that there's no future for him in that profession, and he went to the Witbank coal mines, and he started off as a learner miner. Now, and if I say that we were very poor, I mean, I can remember that many times my one uncle would go. We were staying on one of the old farmhouses on the mine property, because there wasn't room in a property house for him yet. So then my uncle would come and he would shoot some finches and doves so that we can eat meat. Mm. So if I talk today and I look and I hear about poverty and things like that, I can understand that. I mean, I grew up like that. But let's jump. My dad was a hard worker, and he worked himself up. He ended up as a mine manager. He was the first Afrikaans mine manager in the country. And he always told me and my brothers, you guys must learn. Because get educated, because I don't want you to end up in the mines like me. And okay, so that was it. And then I went to university and I studied law. And while I was studying law, I had a professor in one of the they call it the stopvak that I took, and I had to do it at the after hours facilities of Takis. They're down in Bruce Street, and one of my classes was on a Saturday morning, 2 hours on a Saturday morning. Gee, can you imagine that for a student? On a Saturday morning, from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was, and so many times I arrived there in the class and I was there and I was the only guy. I'm the only one there. And the Professor Oberholzer, he would sit with me in one of the benches there. He didn't even stand in the front, and we were just talking. And the big thing why I'm telling you about this is Prof. Obi taught me something that made me the man that I am today. And he taught me the value of thinking. And he taught me the fact that in your mind, there's no boundaries. You can go as far as your bravery will allow you to go. And as I mentioned to you earlier today, it is like standing outside on a dark night and you look at the sky and you look at the moon. And you can look at the moon and a casual glance at some of the stars, and that's where your thoughts are there. But then you turn your gaze into the Milky Way. And then you really focus and you try and imagine how far are you actually seeing.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize that you don't know how far you're seeing. It's endless. And that is what the value is of a person's mind. And I am of the opinion that the youngsters, many of our youngsters, young people, and if I say young people, I'm talking about people under the age of 40. They don't understand the value of thinking. They don't think about things. And I don't want to say, yeah, you must meditate, because the moment I say you meditate, then there's people again that are going to jump out and say, yeah, but now I'm getting religious and all that type of shit, and that is not what it is. The fact of the matter is, you must spend time in your mind. And as I said to you earlier, I did just under 1 million kilometers on big bikes. And wow. I'm a good long distance rider. And a typical day in the saddle for me was between 800 and 1,000 kilometers. That is long hours in your helmet. No communications. I'm one of those guys that never installed music systems on my bikes and in my helmets and things like that, because I absolutely loved that silence and that isolation, because my mind could work. I could think a lot. And that is very valuable to me. I taught my sons, for instance, from a very young age. I said to them, if you are in a situation that people ask you a question, they're questioning you, just remember this. Whatever he asks you, don't matter if you know the answer. Count to 10 in your mind. Count to 10. Because the chances are damn good that while counting to 10, you're going to change your answer. And that is important. And that is, people don't realize the value of that. They think by answering like that, that's the right thing. I had a professor, and he always said, if you ask somebody a question and he answers like that, he does 3 things simultaneously: quick, sure, and wrong. And that, I mean, that was burned into my brain.
Yeah.
So, so after varsity, I had to work back my bursaries with the government and spend time in the government, in Department of Justice and in prisons, and I don't want to talk about that shit in any case. And then I was at a stage I was used as we call it a locum magistrate. So I was sent all around the country to, small towns where the magistrate want to go and leave, and then I must go and sit in on his place and so forth. And I also spent a lot of hours and a lot of time as a prosecutor, and it murdered my soul. It's going to sound weird, but it murdered my soul. I would get home at night, and I would think about the case of the day, and I thought to myself, was it really necessary to put that guy away for 10 years?
Mm.
And it became so mind-numbing for me. And just one morning I got up and as I say in Vanagalo, posa ticket, and I left. And and I started working myself. I started off with a photographic studio I had in Pretoria, and from there on. And then in 1984, I was introduced to computers, and it was as if I was born for that.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
So that, and I've been in this. What can I say? How can I put it? I've been in the IT business since '84. There was a stage in my life that I also did construction, timber frame construction, and I built lodges and things like that. But the thing is this, that always, my whole life, I always basically had two occupations. That is how it is. Now I'm turning June I will be 71, I'm semi-retired, and I spend a lot of time with my radio control cars and models, because I'm crazy about building models. And once again, it is that thing of isolation. I would sit there in my hobby room on my own, late into the night, building the models. And my wife, she knows, but she goes to bed 9 o'clock in the evening. Yeah. I'm a guy that goes to bed around about 1 o'clock. And I said one day, to a guy, we were at a board meeting in Johannesburg, and he said to me, but I don't understand you. You live there in isolation in the bush. But look at this, how you operated here today. And I said to him, you must just understand, I am a hermit by choice with excellent social skills. That's it.
Yeah.
I hope I did not bore you with this.
No, that's fascinating. And look, I've got to say that I used to be the old fart in the room.
Yes.
And now I can say that you are a few years older than me. Now, I'm getting an echo coming back. Can you turn the audio down a bit where I'm speaking to you? Just slightly.
Let's test that.
And while you're doing that, that's better. Now, while you're doing that, you brought up looking at the Milky Way, and yes. I was reading something.
Is it better now, Scott?
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, that's good now. Okay. Yeah, I was reading something. In fact, only yesterday, that until 100 years ago, they only thought there was one galaxy, and that was the Milky Way. And now they know there are millions of galaxies. And when you think of where the brain can go, if you think of that analogy where people only see one particular galaxy without realizing that there are actually millions of galaxies which you just cannot see but are out there, it kind of shows the expansive nature of the brain. And the other thing I just would like to say is that there's a very good friend of mine. He's on WhatsApp, and I can put you in contact. He loves riding bikes. In fact, he's got a lot of bikey friends in South Africa. And I think you guys would get on like a house on fire. So if you like, I'll put you in touch with him.
Yeah, that's great. You were talking now about the Milky Way and all the galaxies.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say something now that will most probably amuse many of the people.
Mm-hmm.
When my children, in my young days, in my really young days, I was a wildcatter, and I also was involved in that Lopsangarampa shit and all of that, and then I had in 1969, I had a visit, and I was extremely agitated and disturbed, and I talked to my dad about it, and he said to me, right, the next time it happens, ask the person if you can help it. And about 2 weeks after that, I was in the hostel in Volkshuis. I woke up, and here's that figure standing at my bed. And I remembered my dad's words, and I asked the question. Now, I cannot tell you if it was words or what, but the response I got was, don't involve yourself in the things that you don't understand. And that was it. And later years, I did a lot of work with the Christian Motorcyclists Association. And then when my children were born, I said to my wife, the religious part of the education of the kids is 100% your responsibility. I don't want to be involved in it for the simple reason that I will confuse them. When they're older, they might start thinking more like me. But now, youngsters, that's your part of it. I am not going to take the risk of leading them astray. And that is how it worked in my house. And that's it. And I said to a guy the other day, we were in a hell of a hard debate. And I said to him, you must understand one thing. You know me as a computer guy, and you know me as a oak that got a lot of philosophical ideas and things like that. But you must understand, when it comes to the Bible and to Christianity, I am a fundamentalist. If that verse says, you may not kill, I don't want to hear your fucking explanation of it. I don't want to hear your interpretation of it. I don't want to hear stories about it was not for the time and all that shit. I don't want to hear it. That is what is in the Bible, and that is where it is. And that's the end of it.
Yeah.
No debate, no discussion, nothing. I thought the guy was going to faint.
Now, Colyn,
that's it.
It's lovely chatting to you and getting to know you and finding out a bit about yourself. And you obviously have a very different and look, I've led a very unique life as well. And I think it's lovely. It's rather like that song, I Did It My Way. You know, you've done things your way. Yeah. I told my children that is the song that they must play the day when they throw my ashes to the wind. It sums up my life as well. Now, one of the things that you've studied, and this is where we're going to be talking about tonight, especially with the load shedding shit that is going on in South Africa. And I love the lighting in your room because it kind of sums up what people are living in South Africa. Now, you've got a way that people can actually overcome load shedding inexpensively and with very little hassle. Do you want to take us through the process that you use to overcome load shedding? And let's start off with how people should evaluate their needs when it comes to electricity during a load shedding event.
Okay. The big thing about the load shedding is that it is extremely disruptive. And to some people, and I'm talking now about my generation, it is as if their lives comes to a stop the moment that that power goes off. And it is extremely disrupting. And then you've got these stories that is floating around and people throw things like, I'm going to go off the grid and cock like that, man. And they don't really understand the implications and the complications of saying I'm going off grid. For a start, you're talking about a hell of a lot of money. Doesn't matter, and there's a lot of technical guys that will say, I can't be so much. I'm telling you, for a pensioner, 120,000 rand is a fortune. And people has flushed hundreds of thousands of rands down the drain. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about how I manage my environment. I am a guy that was super dependent on technology. So about 6 years ago, I bought myself what I call a trolley UPS, and it had a deep cycle battery in, and it could keep my computers running for about 45 minutes. And my office could function for about 45 minutes. But that was 6 years ago. There was no urgency in it, and it was more to tide me over when lightning takes the power down. And then when the load shedding hit, I all of a sudden found myself in deep shit, because it's 2-hour sessions, 20 minutes in, dead is the thing, and here I sit, nothing to do. I feel literally totally disconnected. And then I started working on that UPS, and I went to the battery guys and I told them, and the guy said to me, well, that battery is fucked, bring it in. So I took the battery in and he had a look at it, and then he said to me, okay, this is a lead acid deep cycle battery. It's going to cost you 2,800 rand to replace it. But think about this. This battery has only got a 500 cycle life. Now I stood there and I thought to myself, 500 cycles with 3 sessions of 2 hours a day, that means in 6 months' time the battery is gone. And he said to me, but we have the lead carbon option, which is 600 rand more expensive, but it's got a 5,000 cycle life. So to me, that wasn't even a question. So I bought the battery and I put it into the UPS, and so all of a sudden I could go for roughly about an hour and 15 minutes. So it's my office. Now my office has got my PC, 2 screens, and I've got an external hard drive, a network drive, and I've got 4 security cameras on it, and I've got 2 Wi-Fi points on it. And my wife can watch a TV. It's a flat screen TV with a decoder and a satellite dish. And if all of the things are on and she watches TV, the battery would hit about 25% within 45 minutes to an hour. And then I have to switch it off. And I went back and I spoke to the guy, and he said, okay, put another battery with it. I put an extra battery on, and that gave me an hour and a half, hour and 3/4. And then I went back and I bought 2 more batteries because my UPS could handle 4 batteries. And then he said to me, but now, you must understand, the internal charger in this UPS can only provide 15 amps, which is not enough to charge this 4 batteries, because you need 10 amps per battery to start off with. And I bought a 25 amp smart charger, and I put it with that. So that gave me 40 amps in charging capacity, and it made a world of a difference. And I'm not going to spend more time on this specific discussion, part of the discussion, because all I can say to you now, I go through a 4-hour session and end up with a battery power at about 85%. The 2-hour sessions, if my wife is not here, the battery dropped to 95 to 96%, which is not a full cycle even. And then I started thinking a lot. My one son, he sells solar equipment. And I had heated arguments with him because they want to sell you a hell of a big inverter and Moore's lithium-ion battery and 8 solar panels and things like that. You're talking 120 to 300,000 rand in the end. And then one night I listened to a guy, he's a retired engineer from Eskom, and he made a few very good points. And he said, look, the first thing that you must understand about the load shedding and off the grid, this off the grid story, so you must understand, doesn't matter what you do, you can never, and it doesn't matter how much the Eskom price will rise, you can never generate your own power cheaper than what you can buy it from Eskom. So, your most important thing that you must understand about the load shedding is you'll have to adapt your lifestyle. You have to change your lifestyle. And he said the first logical thing to do, and that will save you a lot of money once load shedding is gone and all of that, put a solar geyser on. Solar geyser saves a lot of power and you have the comfort of hot water. And then you go for a UPS. Now, if I say UPS, many people will have an image of that small little black boxes that are about the size of 2 bricks that you buy at the computer shops. That is bullshit. That thing is designed to give you time to switch your systems off properly when the power fails. That is not something that can carry you for an hour or for whatever. Those things, they're not designed for that. They are mostly designed to handle power dips, and if there's an outage, you have time to shut your systems down properly. So, forget it. Now, Scott, I sent you images. Can you just put that, one of those battery images up?
Sure.
The 500 watt one.
Sure. Yeah, look, I'll share the image with you as well. Okay, there we go.
Now, that is the thing that people should look at for a start. If you are, say you're a pensioner, you live in a small garden flat or whatever, you're on your own. This is something where you can start. This thing will drive your Wi-Fi and your flat screen TV. And it should handle it for about 2 hours quite easily. The only problem, that is the lithium-ion battery in there, the only problem with that thing is it takes 8 to 9 hours to recharge again. Now, with the load shedding being what it is, we don't have that 8-hour sessions anymore. So you're going to struggle to keep that thing fully charged. What is important about this one is this one can take solar panels. So you can plug appropriate solar panels into it. Then you have the advantage. You've got 2 panels on it, or 1 panel, or what. And while you're in the load shedding during the day, the solar will either recharge the battery or the solar will provide you the power that you are using. So a person must take a good look at what does he want to drive, the bare necessities. And the thing is this, and I think in the day and age that we live in, most people would like to keep their Wi-Fi and their internet connection going. They would like to keep their laptop or their PC going, and they would like to look at the TV. And if that is where you go, you cannot go smaller than this. This is where you should start. And if you can put me the picture up on the trolley one, please. Yes. Now, this is what is typically called a trolley UPS. They are becoming more and more popular. This specific one that you're looking at there has also got a lithium-ion battery in it, and you can plug you can plug 2 solar panels onto it, and it can take 1 extra battery if you want long. If I want the same performance that I've got from my lead carbon batteries, from this thing, I'll have to put an extra battery with it. Now, when it comes to the batteries, you've got the lead acid batteries and lead carbon, then you've got the gel batteries, and you've got the lithium ion batteries. Where the lithium ion is the one that everybody pushes because you can recharge it quicker, it's a quick recharge and things like that. And they tell you the thing has got a 10-year guarantee, but don't let that be the thing that makes you purchase a damn thing. Because under the blanket, that battery life will be dictated by the cycles that it needs to go through. Every battery in the world has got a limited cycle. That means there's a limited number of times that you can recharge it. And people that are looking may have experience with a rechargeable torch that they've had now for 10 years, and all of a sudden the damn thing, it shows it's full, and you walk out into the garden, you put it on, and you take 10 steps, and the damn thing is dead because it doesn't keep its charge anymore. That is typically what happens to cell phones and laptops and all of those things. You get beyond the life cycle of that battery. So don't steer yourself blind and let the salesman bullshit you with a 10-year warranty. It depends on the cycles. Now, in my case, if I didn't put the extra cycles on, extra batteries onto my pack, my battery would be dead in 6 months. Now, I've got a damn good chance, because I don't drain the battery so far, they go down to 85% when it's a push. They will most probably easily last 5 to 6 years. So that is what you must think. So think about these. And then if you look at, the government has told us now officially that load shedding is going to be with us for the next 3 years at least. If you want to have some form of normalcy in your life, you really need to get yourself at the least, a decent UPS system, as these things that I've explained and talked about now. And then what you can do, now you get these trolley UPSs in 1 kW and 1.5 kW. If you can afford it, buy the 1.5 kW, because with that 1.5 kW, you will have the ability to plug your fridge into it for half an hour and take it off for an hour, put it in for half an hour, just to help the fridge keep some coolness. I don't want to bore you guys with it, but in my house, I've got 3 fridges, and I can see on the 2-hour sessions, the fridge temperature will go up to about 6 degrees, 8 degrees sometimes. And the deep freeze side will go up from -20 to -3, -2, around about there. But on the 4-hour sessions, the deep freeze goes up to 2 and 3 degrees, and the fridge side goes up to 12 degrees. Now, that is dangerous for your food. Have a trolley UPS of 1.5 kW at least. You can plug the fridge in and let it just run for 30 minutes and pull it out, because if you keep the fridge in totally there, you're going to drain the battery quite quick. There are portable battery packs like that first one that I showed you that can drive a double-door fridge for 18 hours. They are there. They are available. But they are costly. Those things that I'm talking about now are 35,000 Rand. But they can do it. So your money will dictate where you go. What I'm trying to tell you is, what are the type of things that you should look at? And then you must understand, for every one of those items that we discuss, there is a variety available on price. Now, that is, price will dictate what you're going to do. And then what you can do for yourself is get one of these cool box type of fridge freezers that you get at the camping places that the guys are putting in the cars, and so have one of those things, because those things can run off 12 volt or 220 volt. And these UPSs and this battery thing has got a 12 volt outlet. So you can plug that thing in there. The reason why I say that is, especially if you have children or what, and in the load shedding session, you put some milk and butter and cheese and spreads and cold meat and whatever in there, that you can make a snack or sandwiches during the load shedding without opening the freezer or the fridge. Because every time you open that door, the cold runs out. And it is going to become a major problem as time goes by. People will understand that they will experience that they are losing food in their fridges and their freezers. Not from the 1 or 2 sessions, but if this is repeated every day, your deep freeze goes up to 3 degrees, you're going to have a problem with that food in there. The same in the fridge. So that little portable thing, you can use that to try and save your coldness in your freezer, or in your fridge. And another thing that you can use is, this thermos flask, the pump action stuff. You get yourself one of those, you boil your kettle, fill it up, and close it. And those things normally last for 12 hours. So for the rest of the day, when you want coffee or tea, you make it out of that thermos flask. And you will not believe how much power you're going to save. Because I've got a gauge here, a metering system in my house at the DB. I can see what the power consumption of the house is all the time. And you won't believe how that consumption jumps when you put the kettle on. You put the microwave on. It is crazy. And that is where we come back to, people will have to adapt their lifestyles. That is important. But the solution that you're going to go for will be dictated by your budget. And there are cheaper options, and then there are the top of the line options. And as I said to you earlier, I'm not going to talk about solar installations on their houses and things like that, because that's a huge topic, and I'm not technically enough for that. The UPS is a good option if you just want to tide yourself over these black periods, because that is, your life comes to a stop. Many people, their lives comes to a stop when the power goes off.
Yeah. Now,
And
I've
this
got
can,
a couple of questions for you regarding what you've been telling us. And the first one is, what are the costs of these 2 images that we got, the 500 watt and then the trolley? And it also, what is the capacity? If you can just say, like, the 500 watt can power your computer for 4 hours or 2 hours, etc., etc.
You're going to laugh now, and you're maybe going to frown now, but I'm going to go there. Because the consumption depends. Every damn machine is different. I can tell you, in my house, with the 4 batteries, it's 400 amp hour, because it's 100 amp hour per battery. I can get 4 hours easily running my computer, 2 screens, external network drive, my Wi-Fi, 2 Wi-Fi points in the house, the router, and the 4 security cameras, and the TV. And I can easily go past 4 hours.
No, Colyn, I think the crucial aspect to this is that let's look at this 500 watt image that we got up now.
Yeah.
It comes when you buy it with one battery, but you actually install three more batteries and you ramp up the amps so that when
No,
it's
it's not.
charging.
That's not 100% correct, Scott.
Okay, then just clarify
This
that what I
one,
said.
I don't know if this carry packs, if you can put an extra battery on it.
Okay, but the
On the
carriage one.
trolley, you can put an extra battery.
Okay, so this one here, you can put in extra batteries. And is that the one that you
Yeah.
got four batteries in?
I've got a similar one to that, not this specific model, an
Yeah,
older model,
yeah,
but it's something similar to that. And
right,
I've got four lead carbon batteries on it. And this one that you show me here, you get it in a 1 kW and 1.5 kW. And
right,
I'm just going to get the price for you now on that. And these are prices provided by my son from his business here in
right,
Nelspruit. The 1 kW will cost you 13,950. He's got a special on it at this point in time. There's a 7% discount on it. And the 1.5, which is the one that I think that people, if you can afford it, don't, go for the 1.5, because on that one you can add your fridge if you need to. And that one is 22,649. And then you can add an extra battery onto it. I don't know what the price of the batteries is, and you can put 2 solar panels onto that thing. So you can have that thing solar assisted.
Now, the trolley that can also power your fridge for, as you said, for 30-minute goes. How long will that last? Let's say you need it for five. Would that last for 5 years? The trolley?
For 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't, you see, you must understand that trolley comes with a lithium-ion battery,
Yeah.
and you can drain them quite deep. I think it's 20% or something like that. But it will switch itself off when you go too low.
Right.
So you can you get more use out of it. Mine, when the battery condition goes below 60%, the icon turns yellow. Then you're already in the danger zone, because now you're getting low. And they tell you on the lead carbon batteries, don't go below 50.
Right.
Because you will damage the cells eventually. That is why I had to expand on it. But I think this trolley thing will help most people to retain some civilization during the load shedding sessions. And if my neighbor, he's damn good with these things. He looked at the specs of this specific trolley for me, and he said to me, well, what you buy there, as it is in that package, will give you half the life of what you have now. And I said to him, okay, so if I put the extra battery on, I have the same. The difference is, then I have lithium-ion batteries, and I can put solar onto it. And he said yes.
Right.
So if I had to start from scratch tonight, Scott, my son has said to me many times, Dad, sell that bloody old thing. There's many people that will buy it and buy one of these. And I'm sitting and toying on the idea. What I specifically like about this thing is the fact that I can put solar panels on it. And that makes a huge difference, Scott. During the day, and you've got load shedding session, you're not going to touch your batteries. You're going to power yourself from the sun.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when the load shedding is gone, and you're back on AC in your house, and that thing must recharge, the sun is going to recharge it. This is something that people must keep in mind. You have these backup things, and it sees you through the session, and then when the session is over, you've got to charge that thing, and then you consume the Eskom power that you didn't use on the 2 hours. You're now using it after. to get the damn batteries back to charge.
Right. Now,
You understand what I'm trying to say?
absolutely. Now, you mentioned about power cord extensions.
Yes. That is a topic that I can write a book about. I was in a construction game, and I was a boondoe builder. I was building lodges in the bush, and so we had generators and long power extensions and pneumatic tools with long damn hoses and things like that. Now, the first thing that the people must understand, if they buy something like this trolley, in my house, what I did here is my neighbor came and he did a fixed installation for me. He did cabling to the plugs in my office and at the TV, specifically from that UPS room, and that is plugged into the UPS. So those things are on their own circuit. They're not part of the of the house circuits. But no, people wouldn't like to do that. They don't want. They may be renting a place or something, so they're going to use extension cords. Now, what you must understand, the extension cord. You walk into your local hardware store and you buy, or your supermarket, and you buy one of those extension cords off the shelf there. 9 out of 10 times that extension cord is what we call a 1 millimeter cord. That means the 3 cores of the red, green, and black wire that's in there are each 1 millimeter diameters. That is damn low. That cord will get hot and it can create a fire. So if you're going to do this, make sure you buy yourself a 2.5 millimeter cord, extension cord, because then you know it will be able to carry the load, because you're going to plug your TV and your things on the other end of that cord and so forth. And then storing your cords. You get these cords that are on a spool, and that's an ideal way of storing an extension cord and so. But the problem is, the people do not unroll the whole cord when they use the extension. There's always a lot of cable left on the drum. That is a huge electromagnet, and it's got problems of its own. So if you have got a loose extension cord, your ideal is you want the whole cord to lie and open and not coiled and things like that. And then when you have to store it, the guys do this. They take the thing and they do it around the elbow. You must have seen it 1,000 times, people coiling ropes and everything like that. But what is happening when you coil it like that is you are turning the cable. And as you turn that cable, the internal wiring, you start, they also start coiling. And then you end up, you must have seen it many times in your own life. You uncoil your extension cord, but it makes these little tight detail or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And then what does the guy do? He takes it, both ends of it, and he pulls it straight to get it straight. And every time you do that, the internal wires, it's not solid wires, it is braided wires. And you start breaking that small strands inside the wire. And at every one of those breaks that happens, when you put power onto that cord, there's arcing happening there. And the cord don't break, all the strands don't break at the same place. They break staggeredly. So eventually, in that cord, there's not a single strand that runs from the plug to the outside, to the other end, that is solid. All of them are broken. And they spark. And that's when you get fires. Now, the best way, and this is a solid way, is when you coil your extension, and the same is for your hose pipes. You put the one end down on the floor, and then you start doing figure of 8. You do a figure of 8, and when you're in the end, I normally plug the two, the adapter side and the plug into it, so that it's solid, and you take the two ends together and lift them up, and you've got a circle. That's it, and you stash it like that. Next time you want to use it, you put it down, and you open the figure of 8, and you unplug and you pull it off, and there's no twisting, no dragging, nothing on that cable. And on hose pipes, you must have seen situations in your own life where your garden hose pipe starts making these kinks and things like that.
That freaks me out.
and then it starts leaking there.
Yeah.
And if you look carefully, you will see that the braid and the plastics are delaminated. And it's because of incorrect coiling.
Right.
It's because you try to fucking coil the thing in a circle. Never do that.
Now,
if you do the figure of 8, your hose pipe will last for years.
Now, how big should the figure of 8 be? Should it be like 1 meter from end to end, or 2 meters, or how big?
It depends on the thickness of the hose pipe or the thickness of your extension cord. You can make it as short as possible, but usually with a 1.5 millimeter house extension, the figure 8 will be from the one end to the other end, I would say about 600 to 800 millimeters.
Right.
So when you fold it, it's 400 millimeters. But let the natural pliability of the cable lead you. Right. You can try and do it as tight as possible. Never force it. Just do it as tight as it wants to go naturally.
Yeah.
And then you're safe.
Okay. Now, I've got a few questions that have come through.
Okay.
Melanie has said, what is Colyn's profession?
What is my profession?
You're a retiree, aren't you? I mean, you're an old fart like me.
Yeah, I'm semi-retired.
Yeah.
I spent the last, I wrote my first commercial application, database application in 1984. So I spent a life in IT, but as I said to you, I always had 2 jobs. At a stage, I had a moor of a big mining and industrial supplying operation in Northern Natal. And after that, that thing went belly up with the sanctions. The mines closed, something like 27 mines closed in 3 weeks, and I went bust. And then I started building timber frame houses. The reason I started building the damn timber is because I had to build a house for my own family. And I don't know my asshole from my elbow when it comes to dagga and bricks. And I saw this timber frame thing, and then I got the booklet I got the course from Berkeley University in California. They got an interesting system there, Scott. They call it their owner build center. What happens is they take in the beginning of the cycle, they will take 8 couples, and it must be couples. So it's 8 couples. And that 8 couples must, if you want to enroll in the course, you must have a plot. And over that I think it's 3 or 4 months that the course lasts. Over that 4 months, all 8 couples build their own house.
Wow.
So I got their manuals. And in South Africa, I mean, there's nothing like that here. So me and my brother, we sat and we took one of I had a DeWalt saw that I used as a hobby. And we started and we cut the timber in 1/10 scale. And we did the whole course in 1/10 scale. And that's how I learned about timber frame construction. And then I was introduced to the SABS and the Timber Frame Building Association and all of that shit. And I built a lot of timber frame houses.
Yeah.
So that I did. And then in 1994, 95, around about 95. My life changed a bit and things changed around my personal life and I could focus again on the IT. And I was in that. And today, the business that I run is what they call a third-party payment processor. I do electronic payments and collections. That is my main business. That's the business I have.
Right. Now, okay, another question for you. Or actually, there's some comments as well. Gavin says you must take your own load scheduling into account when you're building a system. And I guess that's related to what level Eskom's at.
Yes, and that is why it is so important that you must not, when your battery, you must not pull your battery to its bottom limit during the session, because you're not going to have enough time to charge it back to full power before the next session comes. Now, the setup that I have, in 4 hours, say there's a 4-hour break between two sessions. In that 4 hours, my battery is back to 95, 98%. In 6 hours, it's 100%.
Now, just while I'm thinking about it, after this live stream, if you can provide me your son's contact details, because he sells these UPS systems, what I'll do is I'll put that down below the video so people who want to make inquiries can contact him.
Yes, and I must say, Scott, the agency that he has is the Rolls Royce of solar. You know, it's a SunSync systems and things like that.
Yeah.
They are cheaper stuff. But he does have access to cheaper things. But if you want a decent solution that is going to last you, and you're not going to feel like you've pissed your money down the drain, you buy the stuff that he's got, and you will be happy. Otherwise, the contrary to what the WEF tells us, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Alamura, man, you will own a good solar system and you'll be happy.
Now, Tokolosh has made a couple of comments here I'd like you to respond to. He says, to live normally with lights and fridge, no kettle, geyser or stove, you need at least 5.5 kV. And he also says, this will not work for stage 6 or when Eskom goes the way of South African Airways. Over to you.
I can tell you this. My system, which is actually a low-level system, it's not a top-of-the-line system. My system copes with the level 6 load shedding. We have a 4-hour down, 4 hours back, and then again 4 hours. And the system copes with it. It is, but the big thing is this. If you want to make provision for that fucking blackout moments that everybody talks about, your UPS is going to be useless in any case, unless you've got solar panels on it. But I said to a guy the other day, I said, okay, it's fine. Now, your house is now off the grid. It's fine. Eskom collapses. The grid is down. Think about this. You're not going to be able to buy food. You're not going to be able to buy fuel for your generators or whatever. You're not going to be able to put your feet outside of your fucking door because it's going to be, the whole place is going to be full of riots. So what are you going to have? A little island in the middle of the sea. Think about that. because that disaster scenario of a total grid collapse, you're going to have the comfort of, but your cell phone is not going to work, your internet's not going to work, you're going to have nothing, but you're going to have lights. Okay,
Yeah.
you have lights. Unless you live out in the sticks and you've got your own chickens and your own cow and you milk and things like that, and you're really self-sufficient, then it's fine. But if you're a city dweller, if that grid goes down and South Africa goes black, and now you must excuse my words, pal, you're going to be fucked with it.
Yeah.
Panels you have. The more solar panels you have, the bigger target you're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
those looters are going to think you have stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I've been saying to people they've got to join neighborhood watches and WhatsApp groups in their community and stuff like that, so that if there is a riot, at least you can get together as a group and try and fend it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did a skidmark in Afrikaans, and the title of the thing is Afrikaners is bekleierig en hulle is kaksoekers. And in that I discuss this reality of community groupings.
Mm.
Because that is the only way we're going to survive.
Yeah.
And people have got all sorts of ideas of how they will do it. But if that blackness comes, everything that we know and has become familiar with is out of the bloody door.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a fight for survival.
Yeah. Now, Mark has asked or said, I have a DC gel 100 AH 12 volt battery and it works well for me, and I do not coil my extension cord that's on my inverter. What are your thoughts on a gel battery?
Look, I'm going to be quite honest. I'm not a battery specialist, but there is characteristic differences between the lead acid, lead carbon, and the gel batteries. And one thing that someone mentioned to me about the gel batteries is that they are super sensitive for, let's call it, overloading. In other words, draining it down too low. If you drain it too low, they tend to struggle. But that's all I can say about that. In my mind, lead carbon, lead acid, gel is basically in the same category.
Right. Now, Petruza Dutoy has asked, can Colyn please say again why the figure 8 instead of a round circle roll-up of the hose pipe? Both are round, so what is the difference?
They must try do it with their own hose pipe. By doing the figure of 8, you prevent from twisting the pipe. You must have seen it how many times when you roll up your extension cord, when you get to the plug thing, the thing spins around like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
Exactly. And that is it. The same thing happens with your hose pipe. You're winding the pipe up by turning it around your arm like that, or coiling it in a circle. If you do the figure 8, you relax, you wind it up and you relax, you wind it up and relax, you wind it up and relax. And you will be absolutely astounded to see how natural it is for that pipe or that extension to go into that figure 8. You must do it and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And you will be stunned to see how it is as if it was designed to be done like that. I mean, I ruined, I can't tell you how many meters of pneumatic feed lines for the pneumatic tools. How many meters of pipes I've ruined on construction sites, until a guy that sells the pneumatic tools stood at my workshop when we were busy shutting down for the night, and he said to me, "Whoa, stop it. Let me show you how to coil an air pipe." And he showed me. And I was astounded. And I can tell you, since that day, I have never lost a high pressure pipe again, or an extension, or a hose pipe. Never.
Right. Now, Shavesh has said, can the system run the fridge? This is a big one. The stove, obviously TV lights, it can, and the computer. But could it also run a stove, for example, for a short period?
On 1.5 kilowatt, I don't know. I don't think so.
Now, just on that, I would suggest people get a small gas stove. You know, you can get,
Exactly.
yeah.
A gas stove is the answer. I'm a guy, and you may know it or may not know it, I am a serious cook. And I've got gas hob, but I've got an electric oven. And let me tell you now about electric oven that you will most probably enjoy to hear. Most of the modern ovens has got 3 settings. Elements only, or then it get a setting which is called fan assist,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's got thermo fan, where the elements don't work and the elements in the fan heats up, and that's how you cook. And I was a guy, I mean, I can kick myself, but I was always suspicious about a thermo fan. I used fan assist all the time, and I baked cakes and biscuit, and I'm a damn good cook in any case. And then one year in December, my oven element blows. My neighbor comes and he checks it, and says, "Hey, well, that element's gone. So met nuus insit." I said, "Yeah, sure, kry it vir my." In the afternoon, he phones me back and he said to me, "Hey, sorry, I can only get the elements middle of January." And I thought, yeah, Christmas season, and I haven't got an oven going. And I stood there and I thought to myself, must I go and buy a new oven now? And then I thought, let me try this bloody thermo fan. Now, as I told you, I've got a gauge that gives me the current that I draw in my house in real time.
Mm.
And I put the thermo fan on, and I see, but that gauge rises about a third of what it usually rises when I put the oven on. 30%.
Wow.
And then I checked. Normally the oven, to preheat the oven to 220 when I bake bread, takes about 25-30 minutes. With the thermo fan, 10-12 minutes, and the oven is on temperature.
Wow.
30% of the power, about 30% of the time. And since that day, I have never used the elements in my oven again. I work on the thermo fan, and that's the end of the story. And as I'm saying to you, I gauged it here. The thermo fan used 30% of the power.
Wow.
I'm a guy that doesn't trust a gas oven at all. Nothing. I mean, I lived in the bush. I lived in the bush for 5 years, where I had to cook on gas and things like that. So I'm a guy that can understand basic cooking, and cooking on open fires and cooking on gas and all that. And I don't trust a gas oven at all. Nothing at all. And then people say, oh, they're going to save money, they're going to put a gas geyser in. Yes, that's a bullshit story, man. That gas geysers are Yeah, they're fine for a lodge out there in a bundu and you go for a weekend and you shower twice and that's it. But yeah, you got to live every day of your life with a gas geyser. It becomes a more of a pain and it's actually a bloody dangerous thing.
Yeah.
The people at a stage when the power started getting expensive, many people switched from their electric geysers to a heat pump, which makes a lot of sense because the heat pump doesn't use as much power as the geyser. But load shedding, the fucking heat pump is not working. So the logical thing, if you want to start preparing your house, your living environment for this darkness that they have predicted for the next 3 years, your first investment is a solar geyser. That is a real investment that really works. And the solar geysers, the prices are fine and they're competitive, and those things are reliable. They're on the market for donkey years. I've got my own solar geyser, which is a hand-built thing here on the farm. It was built here, constructed here on the farm in 1991. And it still works, no shit. But to me, it's basically a solar assist because I do have a timer on my geyser and I get to give the geyser 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the late afternoon. But during the middle of the day, I've seen it here many times. You open that hot water tap, just as the water is steaming. So, you know, when the power comes on for the geyser is on temperature in any case. So the thermostat cuts out.
Yeah.
But your geyser is a good investment. But if you want to just have that little bit of luxury, have your Wi-Fi working, have your internet working, have your thingy keys, small thingy keys. And the one guy mentioned there about a light. You can put 1 or 2 LED lamps onto this UPSs if you want to. I personally don't have a problem with lights because, as I said, I lived in the bush for a long time. I'm used to working with lanterns and things like that. So I actually like candlelight, but that's me. The fact is that you buy these rechargeable lanterns and lamps and things. They're cheap actually, and I use 2 of them here in the house. That's what we use for lighting. I didn't want to go and plumb extra LEDs in for the load shedding. That portable lamps is fine to me.
Yeah.
So you can make it expensive, you can make it cheap. I'm a guy that my wife says many times, "You are so practical. You're a pain in the ass." That's how I eat. I'm a super analyst. I analyze everything. Everything in my life is analyzed into the smallest blocks. And I live with a motto: if you can measure it, you can manage it.
Yeah. Good philosophy. Now, Shavesh has said, if we have energy-saving machines like A+ rating machines, what I mean, the microwave and washing machine have A+ ratings to save energy. Will they work on the UPS system?
You must understand, it's fine to say it's energy saving, but that microwave draws 1,000 watts. That's it.
That's a huge.
Saving or not. They draw 1,000 watts.
Yeah.
The same with your washing machine. It draws a certain amount of watts. And, a UPS is not the ideal solution to try and maintain your household equipment. A UPS is ideal for, as I say, keep your computer going, keep your internet going, keep your security alarm cameras going, and you can watch your TV. That's it, But once you start, and as I said, if you have a 1.5 kV, or you can get these trolley UPSs up to 3 kilowatt, but then they get expensive. The 3 kilowatts are close to 40,000 rand. then you're getting to the point where maybe it's better to get an inverter and a decent battery and solar panels. You're getting to that. As I said to you earlier, for me, the UPS way is to allow most people to maintain a certain level of civilization. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell you or share with you a little story. When I was about 18 or 19, my first car was a mini panel van. And
okay, mine was an 850 Mini.
and I used to drive from Greytown in northern Natal to Durban on weekends. I'd leave on a Friday night and come back on a Sunday because my girlfriend was down in Durban. And every time I drove down this long road, I don't know if you've been on the road between Greytown and Pietermaritzburg, but it's a long straight road. And here I was, 8 o'clock at night, driving down this road, and you'd get these bloody big Mercedes coming the other way, and they'd have their brights on, and they would know that this is a mini panel van, so, look, we're not going to put them down. So they'd just leave them up, and I'd have to slow right down because I couldn't see a friggin' thing. So I spoke to this mate of mine, and his name was Raymond Faree. Very, very good with his hands and with sort of practical stuff. And his father was the local electrician in Greytown. And Raymond said, look, he was actually working for the South African Air Force at the time. And he said, Scott, I've got the answer for you. And he went away, he didn't say anything. And then he came back a couple of days later with this aircraft landing light.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so he actually made a little connection for it, and then he wired it up to my car. And he said, next time you're going down the road, just flick the switch. It'll turn the aircraft landing light on, and then the poppies gaan dance. So anyway, that weekend I was driving down the road, and here's this bloody Mercedes with its lights on high, and it wouldn't put them on low. So I just flicked the switch, and the whole country lit up. It was amazing. I mean, I looked out, I could see fields a kilometre away, and this guy in his Merc, he just screamed to a halt. But I only had about 5 seconds. And this is why I'm telling the story, because I would watch my battery meter. Raymond said, look, make sure you watch your battery meter, because when it goes low, you've got to turn the switch off again. And within 5 seconds, my battery meter would go from high to just about zip. You'd see it going, shoof. It was incredible. And I used to, when I went out for the weekends, I'd always use this little aircraft landing light. It was so much fun.
Well, I want to tell you now, you're talking about that, just as a matter of interest.
Yeah.
Jan Hetema, he was a major rally driver in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And he had aircraft landing lights on his car. But he had that was a team, I think it was, I can't remember if he was driving for Ford or for Nissan, for Datsun. But in any case, they had a dedicated alternator to drive those lights.
Yeah, it just kills your battery in a few seconds.
Yeah, those things are enormous. And this is what people must understand. Your battery life will depend on the current that you draw from it.
Right.
I have seen a video of a lady in Germany that tested the 2.5 kilowatt trolley lithium system. And she did a test and plugged her double door fridge freezer into it. And it ran for 18 hours, plugged in 18 hours, and after 18 hours the battery level was at 40%.
Wow.
The new fridges and freezers are not too tough. Your problem is when that compressor starts up, it draws a lot of current.
Right.
And that is why it's important. If you have the idea that you want to do, I'm going to call this now, you want to do maintenance feed on your freezer, on your fridge freezer. Have something at least 1.5 kilowatt. Because if the current that it draws is more than 1.5 kilowatt, your UPS is going to trip in any case.
Yeah.
All so, right. But as I said, I'm now in the situation that I'm beginning to worry about my fridges and so forth. And I'm looking at, I've got one of the option is to go full solar on the house, which is a movable lot of money that I don't have. And then maybe get myself one of these 1.5 kilowatt UPSs with solar panels, and then wire the fridges on, do the fridge circuit so that I can switch it on and off, because I only want to feed the fridge for about 30 minutes in a cycle, just to help it not to get too hot, because if you run it constantly, it's going to kill the battery in any case.
Colyn, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a really interesting and informal chat, and it's just how I like it. Is there anything you'd like to just say in wrapping up this live stream?
What I would like to say to the guys and to the viewers, make sure that you evaluate the equipment that you want to drive properly, and then buy something to work with that, and buy the best that you can afford, not the best that there is, because it is vital that we have to accept that we will be forced to do some form of lifestyle adjustment. You cannot, guys go and they go full solar on their houses, and they say they're off the grid, and they spend hundreds of thousands of rand. And then when you start talking to them seriously after 3 months, they tell you, shit, I'm not totally off the grid. Last month I used 200 units. This month I've used 190 units. So he spent all that lot of money, but he still needed some top up from Eskom. And that is the reality about this. My neighbor, he did a Mosa installation at his place and so forth. And then he came to me and he said, yes, well, I think I put up too many panels. I overproduce like hell. And then we had a week of rain, cloudy weather. And he said to me, now I'm glad I had so many panels. If I didn't have that extra panels, I would have been in trouble. So, when you do a design for that, you've got to build in redundancy. But where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? That line is going to be dictated by how much are you willing to change your lifestyle. Because I was standing in the kitchen earlier this afternoon, and I'm thinking about the live stream of tonight, and I thought to myself, we've got used to so many things. It's a toaster, it's a microwave, it's a food processor, it's a mixer, it's an oven, it's a deep fat fryer, it's a hair dryer, it's curling tongs, and we just used to plug the damn thing in and put the switch on, and there it goes. But those days are over. I have got a personal serious problem here. I've got a huge koi pond set system here in my garden. I've got 3 pools, and I have to manage 140,000 liters of water that I must circulate. And with this load shedding, I can't do it. My ponds are green,
Yeah.
but the koi's love it because they're actually carp. They love that dirty water, and that's it. And I was at a stage I was very upset, and then I said to my wife, well, that's it. Let the water go green. The fish is happy. We must just make sure. Fortunately, I've got big dams, so I don't have a problem with oxygen for the fish because your gas exchange happens on the surface of the ponds, not in a waterfall and things like that. That waterfall, people think, yeah, the waterfalls give oxygen to the water. That's bullshit. The gas is handled by the surface of your pond. So if you've got big ponds, now you've got some of the guys that is staying in townhouses and so, and their ponds are fairly deep, but they're small. They have got a problem. They have to aerate their water, otherwise they're going to run into problems with the fish. Mine, I've had a situation about 4 years ago when we had a severe lightning strike on our part of the grid. And it took Eskom 5 days to fix it. So my dams were standing for 5 days. And the fish was never stressed.
Okay, Colyn.
And I want to thank you, Scott, for I thank you for the opportunity. And I hope that the people has enjoyed my talking and all my crap that I can talk. I'm a guy that likes to talk.
Let me just put it this way. You're a very, very practical man. I mean, I can see that. You think practically, and you're obviously a very useful person to have around when things go pear-shaped, because you obviously are rather like MacGyver. You can think of ways of, fixing things, if I can put it that way.
Can I tell you this little story?
Go ahead.
In my businesses, I had the principle all my life. I don't appoint a guy in a managerial position if he cannot catch carp.
Cannot catch fish.
A carp, specifically carp fishing. And guys has questioned me about it many times. My son's questioned me about it. And I said, a guy that can catch a carp is a guy that has got patience. He's a guy that can sit for 3 or 4 days at a dam and wait for a bite. And he's a guy, when that bite happens, he knows now he must be wake up, because he's going to lose his fish if he strikes too quick or too late. Now, they said to me, but why carp? And I said, if a guy can catch a carp, that patience and alertness is part of his DNA. When there's a balls up in the business, he is not going to overreact. And then in my previous life, I had 2 boat shops, and I sold ski boats, these things that they take into the deep sea. And I had to taught many guys how to take their boats through the surf in the Zululand. And I don't want to brag about it or sound vain, but I'm a damn good skipper. And I did, in my personal boat, 195 launches. And I came back 195 times without fucking the boat up. That counts for something. And when I take a guy out for the first time, and I put him behind the sticks, and I said to him, now you must remember one thing. Whatever happens, do not panic. Because if you panic, you will fuck up. Not you might, you will. And that is very important. So, this is the type of things that I apply in my business and in my business life and in my personal life. And I've said many times, when something goes wrong in the office, and where did it go? I mean, I'm running big systems. I'm really not interested in the fact that things went wrong. I'm not going to sit here for 2 or 3 hours discussing the fuck up. I'm only interested in 2 things. First, what did you do to recover from the fuck up? Second, what have you placed into the system to ensure this will not happen again? That's it. And that we solve that in 10 minutes. It's a 10-minute meeting, not 4 hours. Yeah. So I'm not a guy for postmortems.
Yeah.
Because it's a waste of time. Why do you want to keep on discussing how the damn accident happened? And what could you have done to avoid the accident? Fact is, the accident happened, and that's it. Like Forrest Gump said famously, shit happens. I need to know, what did you do to recover from that shit? And what have you got into place to prevent that shit? That's all.
Yeah.
And I must tell you, over my career as a business guy, I've had many personnel. I have key personnel. I can count on my one hand how many guys I had that resigned. And it was mostly women that had to resign because their husband got a job in another town or another city and they had to move. People like to work with me. Yeah. I may sound, and I may come over as a bedonner type of guy, but I'm a straight shooter, and you know, and you know, Scott, if you look at a problem, you must always try and break the thing down into its smallest components. Once you've done that breakdown, then you start fixing every one of those small components. Because you walk in there and it's a huge fuck up and you sit like this, what? And you don't know where to start, what to take, what to leave, what to drop, what to, But if you just sit for a moment and think about it and analyze the thing properly. Say, okay, that. We had a situation here once, just a short while after I bought the farm. And there was a hell of a cloudburst. And the water was coming down the farm road. And it was carving that road out like you can't believe. And everybody, all the neighbors, they're there at where the turn is, where the big shit happens. And I said to them, guys, you're wasting your time here. We must go and fix it upstream. Let's get the water out of the road instead of trying to solve this issue here in the road. Get the water out of the road. Once you know now the water is out of the road, you can come back and fix here. Because now you're fixing, and the more you fix, the more it goes away.
Yeah.
Upstream, always upstream. Go as far upstream as you can when there's a problem.
Yeah.
But in any case, Scott, I really enjoyed this. I was a little bit iffy about doing it or what, because there's a lot of people listening, and I don't want to come over as a guy that think I know a lot and try to be clever or whatever. I'm not that type of guy. I'm just saying to people, think carefully when you buy a power backup system. Make sure you don't have an illusion of what your expectations is, because you are bound to be disappointed.
Yeah. Colyn, I just once again say thank you, and it's been a lovely informal chat, and that's the sort of conversations I enjoy having, and I look forward to having them with you in the future. Have a great evening.
One night we're gonna have a talk. about the rooi gevaar,
Okay, you got it.
the red danger,
Yeah,
because that has been programmed into us, my generation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I was almost a year ago, I was shocked out of that reality and realized my life has been a lie.
yeah, yeah,
And that was something that took a lot of focus and concentration to accept.
yeah. All right, buddy. Take care and have a great evening.
Thank you, and good night to everybody looking and watching the thing. And I will give you the details of my son, and you can then the contact details where they
Yeah,
can get hold of it and get quotations from him and so forth. And just for the record, we live in Nelspruit, and but if you want the stuff that he has, the couriers can deliver.
great. Now, just for the record, while I've still got Colyn here, watch out for Skidmark's videos on Loving Life TV, and I love the common sense and the straight shooting attitude, even though sometimes the language kind of gets heated when you get excited.
Yeah, I know it gets rough, I agree.
Oh,
But you know, Scott, someone talked to me about that one day.
yeah,
And I said, listen, that is the type of guy that I am. And all this political correctness
I hate it.
has led us to a place where confusion and misunderstandings and misinterpretations is the order of the day.
Yeah.
My one son said to me, I have to throw this in at the end. We went to a board meeting in Joburg, and it was quite heated. I was involved in a BEE bull's-up. Now you can imagine, I was rough in that board meeting. Well, 8 people sitting around the table.
Yeah.
And done it, and we walked out. And as we got into the car and drove away, he said to me, Pa, jy's die enigste mens wat ek ken wat by 'n boardroomtafel vir 'n ou sê, fuck off. And he takes it. And I said to him, you know what? There was no room for misinterpretation. He knew exactly what I meant and what I said and what he had to do. And you must understand, unfortunately, I have got the type of personality. I can get away with it. Yeah. You must not try. And that guy sitting there at that table, in his mind, he was 100% convinced that I'll crawl over the table and bliksem him. I won't do it. But as long as he imagined that I will do it, I'm happy. There's two, Scott, this is the last. If you sit in a business negotiation environment, and remember this, you're now an old toppy already, but the youngsters listening, there's only two emotions at a business table. Just two. Fear and greed. That's the only emotions that's there. And if you are clever enough to identify what is driving your opponent, you can plow with him.
Yeah.
But never forget it. It's only those two emotions, fear and greed.
Right.
And the guys that are the easiest to push is greed. The guys that is driven by fear is actually dangerous people to be in business with.
Yeah.
Because they will drop you in the shit unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Because they fear. They're driven by fear.
Right. Well, we've had a lot of wisdom from you tonight, Colyn, and obviously a lot of practical experience. So I'm going to wrap this up now. But look, we'll have you back shortly on Loving Live TV on live streams. And one of the things
The guys must visit my YouTube channel, please, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, look, I've noticed that your subscribers have jumped dramatically in the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did. And I see in my statistics, I can see the visitors that comes from Loving Life.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, that we are living in hell of a dangerous times, Scott.
Absolutely.
I don't think many people realize how dangerous it really is. I've asked the question in many of my skid marks, I've asked the question, who the hell thought it was a clever plan to push the most powerful nuclear power on the earth into a corner?
Yeah. Well, who
thought that was a clever plan?
We're definitely going to have
The
to have a discussion on
broken,
Russia.
my friend.
We'll definitely have to have a discussion on Russia. I'd say in February. I'll ask Melinda to set that up because that'll be about the anniversary of the war with Ukraine. And
24th.
Yeah.
24th of February.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Okay.
And I appreciate the time that you have given me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, mate. I love my live streams, and I have them every night. Well, Monday to Friday, so most nights. Cheers, mate. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye. All right, guys. That was Colyn Serfontein from Skid Marks, and yes, he's got a YouTube channel, and you can look it up. And of course, I'm going to put his son's contact details down below this video. So if you want to inquire about the UPS systems, obviously it's worked for Colyn, and his son can help you get the equipment. Please contact his son. All right, I'm going to go out with Hier Bly Ek Boer. And have a great evening, guys, and I will see you on, in fact, I'm going to be on Sunday night with Nat Quinn. And of course, Nat looks after our forum on Loving Life TV. And I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, guys, take care and bye for now. What's going on here? There we go. Okay. Oh, jeez. Sorry, I'm just trying to load up Hier Bly Ek Boer, and it's not doing it. So I think this way I'll make it happen. Here we go. There we go.
Die is my land, die is my reg. Hier is ek boer. Van stof is ek gemaak en sal ek terugkeer. Die Bybel is die woord waaruit ek leer, soos die grond op die aarde. Hier bly ek boer. In die nacht sal die vijand kom, maar hier bly ek staan en draai nie om, want jy maak my nie bang nie. Hier bly ek boer. Die is my land waarvoor ek sal veg. Die is my bloed, my zweet, my rug. Die is die plek waar my voorvaders leef. Die is my land, hoor wat ek jou sê. Die is my land, wat my mense voel. Hier bly ek boer. Soos asem in die somer wat vreugde bring. My oupa pa wat manicure kon sing, soos hy stap deur die lande. Hier was hy boer. My wortels lê diep in die grond geplant. Hy siel soos my pa, los ek vir jou die land, en jy hoef nie te vrees nie. Hier sal jy boer. Die is my land, waarvoor ek sal veg. Die is my bloed, my sweet, my reg. Die is die plek waar my voorvaders leef. Die is my land, waar wat ek jou sê. Die is my land, wat my mense voor. Hier bly ek voor. Die leeuw sal kom, die leeuw sal kom. 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 Die leeuw sal kom, die leeuw sal kom.